Yes.
Hey, Pumpkinists. Hello, Pumpkinists. Welcome to Crash Course Kidz Pumpkanism. So, before we get into the fine details of Pumpkanism, let's take a look at the basics. The 3 pillars of Pumpkinism: live with reason, live for life, and to live without discrimination. Let's go a little deeper into this. Live with reason means don't do stupid stuff. You're smarter than that. Live for life means we're here for a good time, not a long time. Don't worry about the afterlife or anything. And live without discrimination speaks for itself. Racist assholes are not allowed. Divinities in Pumpkinism. You don't really have to believe in the Great Pumpkin, but we have several types of divinities, such as the Great Pumpkin, which is a god. And then we have the accomplices, which are like gods, but lesser gods. And then we have the personification of Earth. I don't really know where to put her. And then we have several saints and 2 prophets, which are the prophet Linus and the prophet Earth. The nature of Pumpkinism is, it's basically, you don't have to believe 100% in the Great Pumpkin. You can have more than one religion, and everything about your religion and Pumpkinism is all up to you, which is fantastic, isn't it? So those are the basics of Pumpkinism, and now we can move on a little bit. Now we have the logistics going a little deeper into Pumpkinism. First we have our gods. So we have the Great Pumpkin, obviously, the head god. He is a sun god because originally the Great Pumpkin was the sun, and then he came down in the form of a pumpkin. And fall, that's his season. All of the gods are associated with seasons. He's a head god, and he is sort of the creator, but we don't really know what happened before humans got here, so. Next we have Festival, who is the first accomplice to be created out of a gourd. Her season is winter, and she is associated with fire and air, although I don't really count fire as an element because it's too lame. She is the goddess of conflict and war, or accomplice, because technically the accomplices aren't gods, they're just really cool spirits. Next we have Spider, and his season is summer, and his element is water, and he is the god of adventure and prosperity, and he also has this really cool thing called the happiness potion that never runs out, and you drink it to be happy. So, yeah, not drugs. This is Vinia. She is the last accomplice, also made from a gourd like the other other two. And her season is spring, her element is earth, and she is the goddess of art, music, new growth, youth, stuff like that. Next, we'll go into our holidays. We have 4 holidays and then 2 days that mark the beginning and end of the pumpkin fasts, and we'll go into those first. So, January 29th is the beginning of the pumpkin fasts, and from January 29th to August 2nd, you cannot eat any pumpkins whatsoever. It's just part of the religion because, spring is coming and you don't need pumpkins, they're out of season anyway. And then from August 3rd to January 29th, you can have as many pumpkins as you want. And then let's go into our actual holidays. The first and the most important one being Halloween, the Halloween, which is the Great Pumpkin's holiday. And that is, of course, on October 31st, on everybody's favorite Halloween. And it's on November 1st because we're not going to leave out Day of the Dead either. It's when the Great Pumpkin hollows himself out and gives gifts to good children. So that is our most important holiday. The next holiday that happens is Festivus Day, which is on December 21st, the birthday of our lovely camera person. The next, of course, is the beginning of the pumpkin fasts on January 29th. Then we have Vinia's Day, which is April 15th, which is basically you just celebrate everything that Vinia is. And then we have Spider's Day, which is June 21st. Notice that Festivus Day is on the winter solstice and Spider's Day is on the summer solstice. So, yeah, that's pretty fun. And then we have the end of the pumpkin fast on August 3rd, which happened quite recently, so we can eat pumpkins again, everybody. There are a few details I'd like to go into about the Halloween, because at the Halloween, the Great Pumpkin hollows himself out with grief because Vinia dies. It's like one of those yearly cycle things. She just comes back to life. It's really a drag. So the Great Pumpkin dies. He doesn't really die. He hollows himself out, and then he and Spider go into hibernation, leaving Festiva to carry on ruling the world through the winter. So then we have your daily Pumpkinist duties. And this is the part that I feel like most people are confused about most. It's like, as a Pumpkinist, what do I have to do every day? There are none. Follow the 3 pillars and, like, have fun. Next we have our holy symbols of Pumpkinism. Of course we have this one. So the Church of the Great Pumpkin's official symbol is this here. It is the pumpkin grin with 1 tooth. So that represents the Great Pumpkin. There's the Festiva side. Vinia is in the middle here. See, she's dead, so it's missing. Spider, and then we have the Great Pumpkin in the middle. Speaking of the Great Pumpkin, the best symbol to use for a pumpkin is a pumpkin. And then these are all shape symbols for Festiva, Spider, and Vinia. And here are some of their holy attributes. Festiva has this like cool fire stick thing. There's the happiness potion, and so that everybody has something. Vinia has this cool staff, which this is my corn staff. Isn't that nice? It's like corn. And then they each have holy animals, and canines in general are their Festiva. So. Then bats are Spider's holy animals, so not spiders. And then we have crows, which are Vinia's holy animals. And now let's go a little bit deeper into practicing Pumpkinism. Alright, so going a little deeper into Pumpkinism, I know this is up here, but we're going to look at the holy objects. When Pumpkinism was first created, these were like partially very important. Now they're less important. You don't need to own all of them, mainly because the holy text is not published yet, and I will get copyrighted for it. Because Charles won't show. And then we have the pumpkin, of course, because he's the Great Pumpkin. I would advise having at least 1 pumpkin object in your house to protect you, you know. And then rocks and stones are holy to the Great Pumpkin. A cloak, a pumpkinist would like to have a cloak when they are a pumpkinist. And then we have macaroni and cheese, which is the holy meal of Pumpkinism. No, we're not pastafarians. Next, let's go into ritual. Something you don't have to do, but it's always nice. For things to come into your life, sort of like witchcraft. For fun, and then for holidays. Things that are always good to have in a ritual are an offering, a pumpkin, of course, some Kool-Aid to represent Spider. This can also be your offering. A fire to represent Vinia, and then a cool staff like this one to represent Vinia. The fire's for Festiva. I can't speak. Actually, let's stay on the subject of rituals, because there was this interesting little comment on the Pumpkinist blog by Jimmy Jam. And Jimmy Jam said that for the Halloween, he was going to bash his head into a brick wall while wearing a pumpkin on his head, and then wake up in the morning, sing the first hymn written by our lovely camera person, and then eat the bloody pumpkin. If this is a ritual you can do, I would not advise it, personally, but things like that can be rituals. Pouring some Kool-Aid on some fire can be a ritual. Putting some sticks in like a circle in the woods and then saying the Great Pumpkin's name can be a ritual. You know, just have fun with it, man. Life's short. Now we'll go into altars because we're done on that. So, altars! For a pumpkinist altar, you definitely don't need to have one, but some things I would advise you for you to have is the pumpkin in the middle, some symbols such as the ones I showed you earlier. So one of these guys will do. I would advise like having a piece of paper that has that on it. And then candles are nice. I just like them. I like candles. And then the last little bit we have for you today, before we go into a pumpkinist ritual you can do yourself at home to dedicate yourself to the Great Pumpkin, are saints. Saints are not a huge part of pumpkinism, but they do add a little more to the pumpkinist story, and most of the saints on here will be referenced to in the holy texts. So the first one is Saint Edwina, who was the last pumpkinist in the old age and who guards the last patch, which I should have talked about. The last patch is the pumpkinist afterlife, where you can come and go freely and you can be a ghost and you can visit other afterlives. It's really just a chill place in general. Vinny is usually there. It's cool. And then we have Saint Jimothin. who was a skeleton, the only sacrifice ever made to the Great Pumpkin. He was pushed off a roof, being repeatedly with a baseball bat under a pumpkin blanket, and then his body was tossed back and forth for a couple of months. He disappeared mysteriously. We don't know where he went. The pumpkin saint helps Festiva rule in the winter because he was the first creation of the Great Pumpkin, who she decided that wasn't really great to just go about creating things, so she launched him into the sun, all of his bones, after burning him alive. And now he has to do her bidding for the rest of eternity. So that is Crash Course Kid Pumpkinism, but I would like to show you a fun little ritual you can do to dedicate yourself to the Great Pumpkin. Now, what you will need for this ritual is at least one pumpkin, if you have a scepter such as this one, and a doorway. Let's go do it. Before you do that ritual, I'd advise you head on over to Universal Athletics, give them a little bit of money, ask them to put a couple of words on the t-shirt, just like me, and get one of these very epic Church of the Great Pumpkin t-shirts. Like I said, Universal Athletics will do it for you. It costs roughly $13, and I'm too poor to make them on my own, so just head on over there, or anywhere that prints shirts in your town. Get it in orange on black, and you got it. Now let's go do that ritual. Also, subscribe. Hey Pumpkinists, like we're gonna do that ritual I told you about, and here to help me do the ritual today is my lovely camera person Ella. Will you just step outside, like right there? Thank you. Now face me, and take this.
It's a
in your
panorama.
left hand,
Just kidding.
and this in your right hand, and say these words. By walking through this doorway, I bring the Great Pumpkin into my life.
By walking through this doorway, I bring the Great Pumpkin into my life.
Now walk through and say, now I am a pumpkinist dedicated to the pumpkin.
Now I am a pumpkinist dedicated to the pumpkin.
I promise to live my life with reason, live for life, and to live without discrimination.
I promise to do all of that. I forgot what you said.
Okay. And you are now a pumpkinist. Thank you very much.
Yay.
Turn around, face the camera. And that is how you do a simple pumpkinist ritual. It is the doorway ritual. You go through the door, symbolizing you are headed to your new world as a pumpkinist. And don't forget, as a pumpkinist, you can be a part of as many religions as you want. The Great Pumpkin does not demand your whole devotion. Thank you, pumpkinists. Subscribe.
More than Babauda.
Crush Babauda.
Slam that subscribe button.
I turned it off now.